Hello and welcome. My name is Kate Marand. I'm a program manager at DC's Department of Small and Local Business Development. Today, we are doing a session with our government colleagues at the Office of Tax and Revenue. And this session is DC Small Business Tax Deadline Reminders with OTR. We know that the annual tax deadline is coming up very soon for small businesses. And so we want to make sure that everyone was seeing that information, that they knew how to connect with the Office of Tax and Revenue. They knew how to log into various systems like mytax.dc.gov. This series is part of a series that we are doing from the Innovation and Equitable Development Division at DSLBD, working with many of our partners across government to make sure that information is making it to small businesses so you know how to connect with the government services that are here to support you. With that, I am going to turn things over directly to Anna Martinez, who's going to take us through a presentation and then work through some question and answer as we have time available for that. So Anna, I'll turn things over.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Ana Martinez. I am with the Office of Tax and Revenue, Customer Service Administration. I am happy to be sharing this presentation with you today. The purpose of this session is to hopefully provide you with helpful information that would allow you to make the business registration process easy and smooth, as well as providing you information on how to sign up for My Tax, and you can have access to your tax account 24/7. The presentation will have a two-part. The first part, we're going to review the portion of how to register your business and complete the form FR 500. And the second part will be how to sign up for My Tax, which is the portal that will give you access to your tax account, like I said, 24/7. I do want to let you know that this presentation will be shared at the end of this meeting, so you will have all the information that we'll be reviewing today. Right? All right. So before registering your business, businesses should obtain a federal ID number from the IRS, and that will be the first step. Then once you receive your SS4, the IRS sends you the SS4 letter that has your federal ID number. You will then register with the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection, and the registration with the LCP will allow taxpayers to obtain the registration documents needed to complete the FR 500 with our office, with the Office of Tax and Revenue. The registration documents may include the articles of organization or incorporation or certificates of organization. So again, that will be your first step will be contact the IRS to get your federal ID number. Then you would go to DLCP to register your business with the Department of Licensing. Then you will come to complete the FR 500 so you can be registered, so your business could be registered with our office for tax purposes. When you going through the application, you will need to attach one of those documents that you will receive from DLCP. All right, once the registration documents are obtained, taxpayers then can visit My Tax to complete, again, the FR 500. You will not be able to sign up for My Tax until you receive the notice of business tax registration from our office. Once you receive this notice of tax registration, that's basically letting you know that we have processed your FR 500 application and your business has now been registered. Once the FR 500 is completed, you should allow between 3 to 5 business days for processing. The registration notices, which I mentioned previously, will then be mailed to the taxpayers to the address that was provided on the FR 500. Once you obtain the notice of business tax registration, this can be used to create the My Tax profile. And again, we're going to go through that process on the second portion of this presentation. Note, if officers are having trouble obtaining a registration notice, you can contact Office of Tax and Revenue Customer Service for additional options. Once your My Tax profile is created, then you will have several self-service options available. That includes filing returns, making payments, requesting the certificate of clean hands, opening and closing tax accounts. You will also have the ability to send web messages directly to our agency. All right. So once you are prepared to register your business, you would visit our website, which is mytax.dc.gov. And under the business section, as you can see here, you will click on register a new business form FR 500. Okay. The next step will be the taxpayer will be guided by instructions and will be requested to provide required information pertaining to the business, including the owner/officer's information. Afterwards, the taxpayer will be prompted to answer questions that corresponds to the taxes that will be filed for their business under the account registration section. Again, the application itself is simple. You just need to answer the questions to the best of your abilities that describe your business. This area right here, the account registration, I will say that is probably one of the most important sections of the application because this will determine how you answer the questions in this section will determine the type of registrations that the system will generate for you. So these are very simple questions, that yes or no questions, such as if your business will need to file a corporate franchise tax in DC. So if your business is a corporation, then in this case it will be a yes. If you're not, then it will be a no. So just keep that in mind to be very careful in how you answer these questions because this will determine the type of registrations that the system will generate for you. All right. Now, this is the example of what the business franchise registration looks like. So in the previous, in the account registration questions, we did say yes to a corporation franchise tax account. So this is what the registration looks like. It's basically going to ask you the type of organization that this is, the date of incorporation, the state, and then when would you like your taxable year to end, and to put a brief description of what the type of business you will be performing in the district. I do want to mention that this slide also contains a hyperlink that will take you to the tutorial for this process. So you will be able to have screenshots and step-by-step explanation of the FR 500 application process. So during this presentation, we're just showing you the main information on how to get to the application itself and some of the information that you will be required to provide. All right, this is the hyperlink for the tutorial on how to register your business, Form FR 500. So when you get this, a copy of this presentation, you can just click on the hyperlink and it will take you to that tutorial. All right, now we're going on the second part, which is how to sign up for My Tax. After your business has been registered and you receive the notice of business tax registration, you will be able to come to our website, mytax.dc.gov, and you're going to click where it says sign up for mytax.dc.gov. You will need to have the information to validate your My Tax account. And the two ways that you can validate the account is with a notice number or the most recent return or payment information, depending on the tax account type. So if you are a business and you are a new registered business, this second option wouldn't be for you, but you would be able to validate your account with the notice number that's provided on the notice of business tax registration that you have received from our office. So you will be able to complete this part of the process with that letter. When it asks you, do you expect to file or pay DC taxes for yourself or your business, you're going to say yes, and you're going to go to next. Once all the information has been provided, you will get a registration summary and will ask for all of the information to be verified before submitting. When you get to the registration summary, I always like to remind taxpayers to look at the username and verify your email and your phone number. This information is very important. We have seen where taxpayers made a mistake. They make a typo on their phone number or their email address, and this will create a problem because we won't be able to send you the links that you will need to finish the registration process for signing up for My Tax. So when you get to the registration summary, please make sure that you verify your username. Also, is case sensitive. So how you type in the username, that's how you have to type it every time. After you submit your registration for My Tax, you will receive a confirmation. You can take a screenshot of this. You can take a photo of it. You will also receive it in your inbox to the email that you provided before submitting the registration. Once you submit that, we're going to send you a temporary password link. Again, this is why it's important to make sure that you have the correct email address, because we will send you that temporary password link to your email. The taxpayer will use this to set up the two-step verification method and create their permanent password. Okay, and then this is what the email would look like that you're going to get with your temporary password. And finally, here's the hyperlink to the tutorial on how to sign up for My Tax. Again, these tutorials will have the screenshots and step-by-step guidance on how to go through the FR 500 application and how to sign up for My Tax. And now we're going to open up for questions. Oh, I'm sorry. So before the questions, there is additional contact information here. If you need to contact our office for any assistance or any questions that you have in the future, you can contact us through web message or phone.
Anna, thank you for the presentation. I know that Warren has been responding to a number of questions in the chat, so I'm happy to support Q&A in whatever way is most helpful.
Mhm.
If we want to be going through things in the chat, if you'd like people to raise their hand. I also know we have a number of call-in users,
Mhm.
so I'm happy to also send by sort of batches some requests to unmute for our call-in users if they have any questions as well. How
Yes.
is most helpful?
Give me 1 second.
And while we're waiting for Anna for a quick moment, I know there have been some questions in the chat also pertaining to some of the other sessions that DSLBD has done, including corporations. So if you did not catch the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program or the DLCP Corporations Biennial Report sessions, both of those are available on DSLBD's YouTube, and you can also write to inno.ed@dc.gov. I'm going to drop that in the chat if you have questions on those topics or those sessions, so we can help get you in touch with that there.
Bear with
So
me one moment. I cannot find the questions.
okay, no, I'm happy to help read questions off. I know Warren has been reading some of them, but I have one first that I'll go ahead and mention because I've seen a couple of different questions that have come in here.
Mhm.
And I know because the headline of the session was also a bit about what are some of the tax deadlines that are coming up. And so I know that there's both an annual deadline and that some businesses choose to set up quarterly. Is that something that you could speak to a little bit about what those timelines look like?
Yes. Okay. So for the annual filers, if you're a calendar filer, your the return, and we're talking about the either corporate franchise or unincorporated franchise, the deadline will be April 15th. If you are a calendar filer, if you're a fiscal filer, then it would be it depends when your fiscal year ends.
So for folks who are trying to make the April 15th deadline, is there any other suggestions from Office of Tax and Revenue, just as folks are pursuing getting that completed here at the local level?
So there are some vendors in the District of Columbia that are able to file their returns electronically. So there are some businesses that may be able to file their returns electronically. They can always mail the returns to the PO box that's listed in the instruction booklet. Businesses can also bring them in person. So there are various options that businesses have to submit those returns.
I appreciate that. And then part of what I'll do, and we can go through in different spaces, is start working through some of the questions. If your question has already been answered by Warren in the chat, we're gonna move on to some of the questions that he has not had an opportunity to address. I know he is chatting with folks about those, but I'm gonna make sure that we work through some of the newer ones that have come in and haven't been addressed yet. One question that came in regarding mytax.dc.gov. Can businesses have separate accounts, both a personal and a business account?
No, unfortunately, that is not possible. When you register, when you sign up for My Tax, each account is basically registered based on your ID type. ID type meaning if it's a federal ID number, if it's a social security number, if it's an ITIN. So unfortunately, if you are a business and your business is registered with an FEIN, you cannot add a social security number individual account to a business that's registered under an FEIN. So the answer will be no. If you own a business and you are also a DC resident, you will end up having two My Tax accounts, one for your business and one for your individual tax.
But if someone is a sole proprietor and operating under their social security, then both that sole
Yes,
proprietor and
then
the person
yes,
come together.
that is correct because they will be using the same ID type, which is social security number.
So and this is a little bit, I think, to a corporate and an IRS question, but I think within that, so if someone is a sole proprietor but chooses to get an IRS federal employee ID number type for a sole proprietorship, then they could have two different My Tax accounts, one
That's
personal and one under that FEIN.
that is correct because the ID type are different.
And so I'll share for folks who are on the line. that we talk with a lot of folks from DSLBD who are first setting up their businesses, and it's important to know that that federal tax ID number, specifically the employee identification number, is a free number for you to register for with the IRS. If you do go online to look at how to do that, there are a number of sites that would be happy to charge you money for that free registration. But whether you are sole proprietorship or if you have registered a corporation, you can get an EIN, and you can get that for free. And that's part of what you would use to sign up for My Tax. Um, this is a question that was in the chat, but that Warren was addressing in the chat. This next one, but I want to ask this one again. If you could say a little bit for folks on the line, is the FR 500 only completed once?
Yes, the answer is yes. It's only completed once.
If someone does need to significantly update something about their business structure, is that would they refile at that time?
That is correct. So let's say, for example, if when they initially register, they are an LLC, so they will be considered unincorporated, but then later change to corporation, then they will be required to resubmit another FR 500 because now they need to attach articles of incorporation. So yes.
Thank you for that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the deadlines that are coming up. We know that some folks may have missed previous year's filings, or this folks might watch this presentation later, after the April 15th deadline. What happens if someone misses a deadline or missed a previous deadline?
So what I would say is if you're not going to be ready to file your April 15 return, the best thing that you can do is file an extension. The extension will allow you to file your return until October.
Can you file that extension directly in My Tax?
If you have a My Tax account, yes, you can submit your extension through My Tax. If not, you can download the form from our website, and then you can mail it in or you can bring it in person. Now, I do want to make a note here because if you have taxes, if you are going to have a tax liability or a tax due, the extension protects you from the late filing because you're not going to be filing, but the deadline, which is April 15th, it will allow you to file your return until October. But it won't protect you if you don't make your payment by the deadline. So the extension, it's an extension to file, not an extension to pay. So you will need to make sure that all your payments, whatever you estimate your tax liability will be, it's paid by April 15th. That's where a lot of people get confused. Well, I file an extension. I don't need to file. I don't need to pay until October. That's wrong. That's when they get a surprise when they file their return in October. They get a notice of tax due because now they have incurred penalties and interest since April all the way to October. So I do want to make a note of that. If you are not prepared to file your return by April 15th, you can definitely submit an extension, but you need to make sure that your payments are in by April 15th. Otherwise, you will be, you will have some penalty and interest assessed.
Thank you for that. And so I think that sort of ties into another space. If folks have missed filings and payments in previous years, and they're trying to get caught up now, is there a way if and we do run into folks who have missed things in the past, and so they do owe quite a bit. Is there a way for them to work through any type of payment plan with the office?
Yes, yes. So the answer is yes. So if you have missed some previous returns, you can, I would advise, to file those as soon as possible, especially if there is maybe a refund due to you. The statute of limitations to claim a refund is 3 years. But if you know that perhaps you may owe. You want to file these returns as soon as possible, and you will be able to work with our compliance department if any penalties and interests are assessed to maybe request a waiver. And those, we cannot guarantee that they will be granted because those are, those cases are reviewed on a case by case basis. But if there is a strong reason and a valid reason why there was a delay in you filing and paying your taxes, then you have the option to also request a waiver and also get on a payment plan.
Thank you for that. And then I'll add one more sort of question that we get a lot here, sort of related to that. Sometimes people will start a corporation in the district and then not do anything with it, and then it sort of stays. And with the corporations department, they may, it might get revoked, but they either never set up with my tax, or sort of they get behind on that. And if they don't shut the corporation down and they start a new one, does that other corporation have impact on them generally and on the new corporation in terms of tax?
Well, if they never registered with us, if they only went to DLCP and registered the corporation there, but they never came to OTR to register, then that business is not registered with us. They were never in business, so therefore, you know, there wouldn't be anything for us to generate a notice of tax to. That business was never registered.
Got it. But if it was registered, and they need to, if they're going to shut the corporation down or abandon it, they also need to go
Yes.
through.
So if the business was registered, so let's say for example they registered this corporation, but they never went into business, they never did any business in the District of Columbia. Eventually, that business does need to be closed. It needs to be seized. So they will need to contact us, and we're going to request supporting documentation just to make sure that that the business has already, or the business license has already been either surrendered or canceled. And that we will look into that, and the taxpayer obviously will need to request in writing that they never were in business, that they registered but they were never in business.
That's incredibly helpful. Thank you for that clarification.
You're very welcome.
I know that more questions are coming in the chat, so I'm gonna
Mhm,
keep working through some of those, and so they might go in some different orders.
mhm.
This next question is specific to a couple of types of forms, and I actually don't know if I know what these forms are, so I'm just going to list off what they mentioned. Would you be able to discuss anything about the purpose of the D30 and the D30N? Are you familiar with those tax forms?
Yes. So the D30 is the business tax form that a business will use to report their business tax when they are unincorporated. They're, let's say, for example, they're an LLC or they're a sole proprietor. They will use the D30 to file or report their taxes on that business.
Thank you for that.
And the D30N, that's a fairly new form. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to see if I can. Um, while I look for the answer, are there any questions?
Yeah, maybe while we do that, I'll actually go to some of our call-in users. And I can't see a full phone number. We do have a lot of call-in users. But for the call-in users who have phone numbers that start with 703 or 301, I'm going to send you a request to unmute in case you do want to ask a question. And so I'm sending you a request to unmute so that you have an opportunity to ask a question as well. Right. Folks are unmuted. It doesn't sound like they have any questions. I'll give it one more pause and then we'll go to some of our 202. Okay, I'm going to remute the 703 and the 301. Okay. For our 202 call-in user and our 240 call-in users, I am unmuting you now in case you want to ask a question.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my name is Precious, and this has been really helpful. Thank you. So, in terms of the new business registration for tax purposes, if we don't get our registration for our FR 500 approved before April 15th, what do we do? Or is that not likely if we haven't done so yet?
Okay, so you're a new business. Your FR 500 has not been approved, and if it's not approved by April 15th, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So, Anna, I don't know if that's a question that you could address.
So what so the FR 500 normally when a new business registers the FR 500, most of the time they have a future expected start date in the district. So it's not so I'm not sure if this is your case where your the deadline, the April 15 deadline wouldn't affect you because what's due by April 15th of 2024 will be the tax return for 2023. So if you submitted a FR 500 this year, I'm assuming that it will be for a business that's starting in 2024. Now, it would affect you if the FR 500 that you just submitted will be for a business that started in 2023. So if your FR 500 is rejected, there is a reason why. Sometimes it could be that these supporting documentation, such as a DLCP registration document, was not attached. So whatever the reason may be, if you need these FR 500 to be processed as soon as possible, then you can call us. We can work with you to figure out what the issue is and what we're missing in order for us to complete that registration. But like I said, if your registration is for a business that is effective in 2024, the April 15th deadline is not going to affect you because 2024 taxes won't get reported until 2025.
Hello.
Oh, sorry. One more follow-up. Thank you. That was really helpful. So prior to 2024, I was operating as a sole proprietorship. So I didn't necessarily have to do taxes, right?
So yes and no. So
Okay.
there is a threshold. So if you're a sole proprietor, so were you working under your social?
Yes.
Okay, so with that is if you make $12,000 or more, then you will be required to file a tax return, a
Okay,
business
got
tax
it.
return. So
Right.
if you make less than 12, then that can still be reported under your Schedule C.
Okay. Oh my God. Right when you started, that was okay. So, okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
My name's Jo. Hello. My name's Joe Brown. Hello.
Hi.
Yes. My name's Joe. Can I'm asylum seeker from Indonesia. I'm little bit speak English. Not really fluent. And then so this I'm just make sure. I'm really confused everything this in the webinar. Can this someone can support me maybe in library or anything like this?
And I'm happy
I
to
will.
address that.
Yeah.
Hi, Joe. This is Kate at the Department of Small and Local Business Development. I think
Yeah.
we saw your email yesterday, and so we're going to reach out with support and with
Mm-hmm.
language access support. So you're going to see an email back from us today about that.
What it is? I don't understand. Please repeat, please.
We are going to email back today. You emailed us yesterday about getting support at the library.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. I will come in library. What time and what day? Okay. Because right now I'm maybe unemployment also. Is why I did focus for this planning. This for this small business. I'm really excited, and then so I'm unemployment right now. I need this for process of a small business. This is I need a faster
Wonderful.
because
We
I'm
are-
just unemployment right now. Yeah.
We are really excited to support you, and so you'll be seeing that
Thank you.
information from us today.
Okay, thank you very much. And then number second, I need asking. Last step, I come in even mayor, and then so I'm asking with someone, and then this is maybe can get take place with together. I can stay. This is place for small business. I make it restaurant. You understand? I'm saying.
I didn't quite catch the last part. You were looking for space for your small business?
Yeah, if later I get maybe small business and maybe I have place for a restaurant, but this is I can stay there together with restaurant,
Okay.
and then I don't need pay at apartment again, but I'm only by myself, don't have family, and then this make it cheaper and easy for me because I'm asylum seeker from Indonesia, yeah.
We are really happy to support, and for both your information and for everyone else who is on the line, the Department of Small and Local Business Development, that's the agency that I'm at, is at the MLK Library weekly to do one-on-one information sessions. And so we'll work on getting you connected with one of those meetings to meet with myself or one of my colleagues to support your business development.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you very much. Yes, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just really quick, I wanted to go back to the D30 and the D30N. I found the information. So like I already explained, the D30 tax return is a tax return that a business will annually file to report their business income and see what their tax due to the district is. So let's say if one of those years, one of the years the business did not generate the $12,000 or generated $12,000 or less, they wouldn't do the regular D30. They will do the D30N, which is the affidavit of gross income in lieu of the D30 unincorporated business franchise. So it's just basically letting us know, hey, I'm not filing the D30 because my business did not make the minimum of 12,000. They made $12,000 or less, so they wouldn't file the D30. They will file the D30N.
Thank you for that. That is very helpful. And I think that might connect in with the next question that we have in the chat, which is about joint filings. So there's an operator who they operate an LLC, but they filed their taxes jointly with their spouse. Their spouse is a W-2 worker. Does your office automatically get that filing? That's the question.
So let me understand the question. So they're jointly filers, and one of them basically has business income.
Correct. And the other is W-2.
Okay. Now the question would be, if the person who's making the business income, are they making over $12,000?
So that information is not in the question. So maybe if we could answer it both ways.
Yeah. So the key here is the threshold amount. Once you make $12,000 or more, you basically are required to file a business tax return. If you make less than 12 and you're not a business, for example, so the D30, the taxpayer, the spouse that is reporting the business income will need to have an unincorporated account registered with us. When they do it on Schedule C, I'm assuming most people that report their business income on Schedule C don't have a business register with the Office of Tax and Revenue. So they, it's very tricky. I would ask the person to contact us because we will need to work between the compliance division and customer service. Customer service will help him with the registration if they do need to register, but compliance will determine if this taxpayer will need to have a business account or they can continue reporting their business income on their Schedule C.
Thank you for that. We have a number of questions that have come in on the due dates again. I'll point out that I know we've covered what the due dates are at least once, but it's also in the chat from at 11:27, and we'll make sure that we email those out as well. So that we're able to get through some of the other questions. Someone did ask a question that I'm happy to respond to as well. Someone asked what returns are due on April 1st. And correct me if I need to, Anna, but I do not think that April 1st is a tax deadline. That is the corporation's biennial report deadline, which is a different process. And so if you have registered a corporation or LLC in the district, the first calendar year after the year that you create the corporation, you owe a biennial report, which comes with a $300 fee. And then every 2 years thereafter, you must also file that report. If you are looking for more information about the corporate registration biennial report process, that is something that we did a webinar on last week, and we'll make sure to distribute that information as well. But DLCP Corporations is a separate department and separate process from Office of Tax and Revenue and tax collection. Anna, is there anything that you would add to that?
No, I agree with you. We don't have any tax forms that are due on April 1st.
So I think some of the additional questions, and you've covered this a little bit, for folks who have not done any business in 2023. But so the question is, does any of this apply? Do I still need to file? Do I still need to pay if I did not do any business in 2023?
So if your business is registered, if you had a business in the District of Columbia in 2023 and you are registered, you are required to file a tax return. So you will be able to determine what your tax due is based on the financials, based on how much income the business generated, your deductions, and all of that. So just because, again, if you have a registered business, as long as you have a active business, registered business with the Office of Tax and Revenue, you are required to file a tax return every year.
Thank you.
That doesn't necessarily mean that you will owe or that you will not owe. That's all based on the information that you provide on that tax return. But again, a lot of and it happens, it's very common to think, well, I didn't generate any income for my business this year, I don't have to file. We need to remember that you need to be compliant. You know, you will be required to get a certificate of clean hands. I believe it's every 2 years, that every time that you need to renew your business license with DLCP. You know, they will require for you to provide a certificate of clean hands. The certificate of clean hands is basically a certification from the Office of Tax and Revenue that states that your business is compliant with filing returns and with payments. So if you go 1 year without filing and 2 years later you have to renew your business license and you go and you try to get your clean hands, your clean hands will be denied because you're not compliant because you skip filing a tax return 1 year.
Thank you for that. And I'd love to just take a moment on clean hands. I know this isn't a session on clean hands, but we do get a lot of questions on that process overall. And so could you give a short summary of what clean hands is? And I think one of the biggest confusions is that I think folks don't realize that it's a status that can expire. But if you could just say a little bit about what clean hands is, and I might have one more.
Yes. Yeah, no, no problem. So again, Clean Hands is it's certification that's issued by our compliance division, compliance collections division within Office of Tax and Revenue. This certification again is basically if you do get the Clean Hands, it basically says that your business is compliant with all the filings and that you don't have an outstanding balance for over $100. So let's say if you owe $50, your Clean Hands will not be denied because you owe $50. But if you owe $200, you went over the minimum, which is $100. If you owe $100 or more, that Clean Hands will get denied. So again, the Clean Hands certification basically certifies that your business is compliant with all the filings for tax returns and with payments, that there's nothing outstanding.
And then I know one topic that often comes up for folks related to clean hands. It will also pull in information if a business is uncompliant with unemployment tax. Is that correct?
I believe so. Again, unemployment is the Department of Employment Services, but I have heard from taxpayers, they don't understand what it means, when they give them the rejection, but it is Department of Employment Services.
So you can, and please correct me, Anna, on any of these pieces that I'll share, if I'm wrong about these, but you can request a clean hand certificate through your My Tax portal, and it will tell you if at that point in time you are compliant or not compliant. If you are not compliant, it will provide information on which agencies to call, whether that is Office of Tax and Revenue and or Department of Employment Services. And what I want to add to that is that Anna mentioned the use case that you will need clean hands in order to renew your business license. If you are seeking grants or contracts from district government, you will also need to be in clean hands compliance. And so you cannot be issued grants or contracts from the District of Columbia government if you do not have clean hand compliance for your business. And we see this for a lot of folks who are coming through DSLBD. And so our recommendation is if you are actively pursuing grants and contracts, to make sure that you are checking in every 30 to 90 days to just make sure that you have that document. When we use the clean hands document on grants, it usually has to be dated at least within 90, sometimes fewer days from when you have to apply. So an old clean hands document may not be sufficient for processes that you are trying to do as a small business. And so it is good to keep an eye on that, and it can help you see if you are missing filings or have payments or other things that might be due so that you could stay on top of that information. Anna, would you correct or add anything to that?
Yes, yes. So yeah, that is correct. So the certificate of clean hands, it's only issued through My Tax. So if you are in need of getting your get your clean hands, you will need to create a My Tax account. And once you have access to your My Tax account, you will be able to request a certificate of clean hands through there. And if you are compliant, you will get it within 2 seconds. The clean hand certificate will be generated immediately and you will be able to download it. It's generated as a PDF, so you can download it, take a screenshot, or you can always come back and take a look at your documents that you have in your portal.
Thank you for that. And I think that starts to cover some of the other questions that have come in. Again, on some of the deadline questions, there were additional things in the chat that you can look at 11:26 and 11:27 from our OTR colleagues. We'll make sure to share that particular information out in the follow-up. Going back to some of the questions, there's someone who missed a 2022 return. And so they want to work with the compliance department on a payment plan. But within that, will the compliance department help them with the new clean hands? They mentioned that their business has changed locations.
So yeah, so again, we do ask that they file their returns as soon as possible. If they need to change, so did you change location?
That's what they said. Yeah, that they changed the
Okay.
location.
Okay, so if they have access to My Tax already, they can update the business location through their My Tax portal. If they have questions or they need someone to guide the phone number is listed on the PowerPoint presentation. They can contact us, and any of our specialists in customer service will be able to walk the taxpayer through on how to update that business location or the mailing address, whichever address it is that changed.
So we have a question on the filing an extension, and that question is specifically related to how much to pay, because there was a notice that your tax is still due at that time. So the question is, how do you know how much to pay by April 15th if you're requesting an extension to figure out how much to pay?
Yeah, so that is a tricky question because we can only we can tell you what to pay. So we recommend taxpayers to reach out to a tax professional that may be able to help you use the previous year's information to figure out what maybe your estimated tax will be for this new year. There's really, there's really nothing that we can give you or tell you that you should use to figure out what your tax is going to be. But there is a form that they can use to kind of use the information from the previous year to kind of maybe calculate what your tax may be this new year.
If someone overpaid their tax, like if someone was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna pay this amount. I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm gonna file." What is the process if they overpay the tax? Can they
Yep.
can they then get a refund from that?
Yeah. So if once you complete your tax return and you submit your tax return, obviously you're going to tell us what your tax liability or your tax due was, and then you're going to have your total payments made. So let's say, for example, you made a total a payment of $10,000, but your tax was only $8,000. There is an overpayment of $2,000. On that same return, you're going to be able to tell us what do you want to do with those $2,000 that you overpaid. There's a line for you to tell us if you want that money to be moved to the coming year to be carried forwarded to the next year, or if you want that money to be refunded, or if you want to split it, you can say, I want $1,000 to go to 2024, and I want $1,000 to be refunded back to me. So there is a section on the return where you're going to tell us what you want us to, what you want to do with your money, with your overpayment.
Thank you for that. I know we have a lot more questions in the chat. We have about 7 minutes left. I know one of the questions that I'm looking at right now is asking if you could share back sort of the outreach information, phone numbers, how to go in person, and emails that folks should be reaching out to. If you could share that slide, because folks were wondering about that. Because we won't be able to get through everything. We've gotten through a lot, but as we're doing that, I think the next set of questions are somewhat related to an S corp. Both the question of, do you know what type of filing someone needs to do for an S corp, perhaps, and then additionally that individual received their tax payment back, indicating that OTR was not able to locate the business in the records, and so what should they be doing about that?
Okay, so for the S corp, what I can say is that you are a corporation. So if you do plan to register with the District of Columbia, your organization type will be corporation.
Thank you for that.
So for corporations, the tax return is the D20. You will be filing the D20 for corporation business franchise.
I think you already answered this next question a little bit, but I'll put this out here real quick. So there's someone who's their business is registered in Maryland. It sounds like they have a foreign corporation here in the district, but they didn't do any business in DC in the district. Do they still need to file?
If they don't have any business in DC and they didn't conduct any business in DC, then they wouldn't need to register.
If they were already registered, but they didn't do anything with that registration. So the corporation exists.
Okay, so the corporation, then they are still required to file because they are registered.
Thank you for that. So I'm going to mention there's some questions again about the biennial report. That's information we'll put out in our email. That is the corporations division, which is separate, and there is a whole webinar on that that we'll be able to share. There, people are asking for the D30. Is there any sort of basis on type of business, like if it's a service business or if it is a product business? Does the type of business have any impact on whether or not someone files a D30?
No. So again, so the D30 includes LLCs, sole proprietors. Those are the most common businesses, but it the instructions are in the D30 booklet that basically it's any any business that's in the District of Columbia, unincorporated, will need to file the D30.
Perfect. I appreciate that. I'm gonna as we have about 4 minutes left. I'm gonna look for a couple of last questions. I know I want to say thank you to Warren and Jeanette who've been answering questions in the chat. We are going to share over also that contact information that we mentioned. But Anna, as we get ready to wrap up, are there any just sort of like big picture recommendations that you'd make to small businesses? A number of folks have been expressing in the chat that, some of this can be confusing, it can be overwhelming.
Yes. Yes, it is. So what I like to tell taxpayers when I speak to them in the walk-in center, I always like to put it in simple terms. If, it's a three-step sort of process, the whole registration of the business, and maybe four, if you will request an FEIN. Just remember that, if you ever need help, we're always here. You can always call us, you can always come in. And the office of DLCP for licensing, they're right across the street. So first thing is if you need an FEIN, again, contact the IRS. And like you said earlier, that is free of charge. And, go to DLCP, register your business there. Then you come to OTR, you register your business with us. And once you have that clean hands, you will get the registration and the clean hands, go back to DLCP and apply for your license. And that's it. I think there's always that confusion because, you know, it's the going back and forth between, DLCP and OTR. It's really not a complicated process. It seems like it is, but just know that we are here to help. So if you ever have a question or a doubt, or you just rather do it in person, we're always here. So you're more than welcome to come, and we'll be here ready to help you.
Thank you for that. In the last couple of minutes, there have been a number of questions about unincorporated franchise taxes, and who needs to pay them, and do they need to do them if they didn't make any money? I don't know if you could say a few brief things on unincorporated franchise tax.
Again, if you have an active business, you are required to file the D30. Again, your tax due is based on the information that you provide on your tax return. So if your business didn't make any money, then it's just like your individual taxes. You pay based on what your taxable income is the same for the business side. So again, I just want to let you know just because you don't make any income, that doesn't mean that you are not required to file. Just file. You may not have to pay anything if your business didn't generate anything. But the important thing is that you want to stay compliant. You want to have all your filings in place. So it's really hard to say, whether you're not going to pay or not. But what I can tell you in general is that, the tax that you pay is based on what your business makes. So, just follow your tax returns.
And then we have one final question in our last minute. Thank you for all of that and everything that we've covered today. There have been a couple of questions about an FR 800. And could you just say a little bit about if folks are having questions about FR 800, whether it's changes or deadlines or timelines, could you say a little bit about FR 800?
Yes. Give me one moment. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so the FR 500 is the sales and use tax form. Uh, so if you are a business that sells items and you charge a sales tax to your customers, you are required to file and report that sales and use tax on the FR 800. So that's basically what the form is your sales and use tax return.
Is there an 800 as well instead of the FR
Yeah.
500?
Yeah, no, so yeah, I'm speaking of the FR 800. The FR 500 is the registration application. FR 500 is to register your business. FR 800 is the sales and use and tax return, where you report your sales tax.
Perfect. And the FR 800 would indicate if you needed to collect sales tax, so you could read that and see.
Exactly. The sales and use information that you put on that FR 500 is determined based on the sales. And if you are a business, there's a different tax rate for different things. There's a different tax rate for parking or for alcohol or food or, items that you purchase at grocery stores. So um, that's what the FR 800 is where you report your sales and use tax that you collect from your customers when they come into your restaurant or to your store and they purchase items from your store or place of business.
Wonderful. I want to say to our colleagues at the Office of Tax and Revenue, to Anna and to Jeanette and to Warren, thank you so much for this session today. We know that it's incredibly helpful for the small businesses who were able to join us, and for many who said that they are looking forward to the recording. To our small businesses who are on the line, I know we got a lot of information that was covered today, and we're also going to be sharing out both this recording, this slide deck, and then contact information so that you can continue to reach out to OTR. Warren and Jeanette offered a great amount of information in the chat answering sessions. And so we'll share that. We'll also share out the information from the corporation session that we had last week, as well as the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment host session as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording and to say a huge thank you to everyone who was able to join today.
Thank you for the opportunity to have Office of Tax and Revenue, have this session with all these small businesses.